Yes, if you will, join me in prayer. Stand if you're able. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the privilege of coming here to do your work and the work of this great state. Lord, so many during this season are lonely. They may have lost loved ones recently. Please care and comfort them. And dear Lord, be with our colleagues who are suffering today. Grant your peace and love. And dear Lord, we thank you for the universities that we serve, the presidents, the professors, the staff, and especially the students. Dear Lord, help us to make decisions that will always be in their best interest. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Donahoe. At this time, may I please have a motion and a second to dispense with committee deliberations and to meet as a committee of the whole?
So moved, Virgil Robinson. Second.
Moved by Mr. Robinson, second by Mr. Romero. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Also, I would like to advise that if any member of the audience would like to make a public comment on an agenda item, please use the comment cards located on the table in the back of the room and give it to a staff member. At this time, we'll move to the approval of the minutes of the August 27th, 2022 board meeting. As you know, these were listed for approval on the October agenda, but we could not vote at that time as we did not have a quorum. May I now have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the August board meeting?
I'll make the motion, Madam Chair.
Motion by Mr. Stevenson. Second by Ms. Russell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Again, today we are meeting as a committee of the whole and everyone can vote on all items. Each committee chair will conduct the business of that particular committee. Because we did not have a quorum for the October meeting, those who were present will remember that the appropriate staff members described the items included at that time. Also, when she sent you this month's meeting materials, Carol included a YouTube link giving you the opportunity to view the descriptions by the staff of those items. So this morning, at the beginning of each committee chair will note the requests from the October 27th meeting and ask for a motion to approve them. After that, the staff liaisons will go on to describe the latest requests from the campuses before asking for a second vote on those recent items. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you. We'll start this morning with the Academic and Student Affairs Committee. Dr. Clark, would you please address those items?
I certainly will. Now, before we review the items for December, we do need that motion and a second to approve items D1 to D4 that were part of the October 27th agenda.
So moved.
All right, that's, who was that? Peterson.
Second.
Supervisor Peterson, seconded by Supervisor Donahoe. Are there any questions, comments from the board? Any comments from the public? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion is approved. Assuming there are no questions, we're going to go on to recently submitted items from campuses. I think we only have two today on the Academic and Student Affairs Committee agenda. Both of these are consent items and require approval. Dr. Janine Kahn, who is the Provost Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs, will provide the report. Dr. Kahn. I don't think you're on.
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank goodness I'm not the halftime show at the Super Bowl. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Supervisor Clark, Chair Pierre, President Henderson, and members of the board and those in the audience. We do have two items. So the agenda is very brief and both are requests to award honorary degrees at fall 2022 commencement ceremonies happening this month. Agenda item D5 is a request from Grambling State University to award an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters to Mr. Mark A. Crawford. The university would like to recognize this alumnus for his extensive career with BP America Incorporated, as well as for demonstrated leadership in his field. And agenda item D6 is a request from Nicholls State University For approval to award an honorary Doctor of Humane Letters to Mr. Elijah Archibald Archie Manning. I don't think I need to go into great detail
Who?
about who that is exactly. I had to look him up on the internet. Thank God for the World Wide Web. But Mr. Manning has had a very impressive football career. However, it is his philanthropic work, such as establishing and supporting the Manning Passing Academy on the Nichols campus at the university, would like to recognize and honor this gentleman. Supervisor Clark, that concludes all items requiring approval from the board today.
All right, thank you, Dr. Khan. Any questions or clarifications needed on either of those? All right, if not, I would like to go ahead and recommend approval of items D5 and 6. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved, Davidson.
Supervisor Davison, motion.
Second, Stevens.
Second, Supervisor Stevens. All right, any questions, comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion is approved. Thank you, Dr. Khan. I think that's it for us. Next item is,
Next item is the Athletic Committee. Supervisor Russell will address those items.
Yes, we'll need a motion and a second to approve items E1 to E9 that were part of the October 27th agenda. These are listed on this month's agenda as well. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. Romero and seconded by Ms. Donahoe. Or is there any discussion on these items? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. There are no new agenda items submitted for this meeting. If there's no other business, that will conclude the Athletic Committee.
Thank you, Supervisor Russell. Next, we'll move to Facilities Planning. Supervisor Stevens will address those items.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members will need a motion, a second to approve items F1 to F12 that were part of the October 27th agenda. These are listed on this month's agenda as well.
So moved.
Then Ms. Donahoe made the motion, second by Supervisor Clark. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll move to the recently submitted items. And from the campuses, we have 9 items on the Facilities Planning Committee. They're all consent agenda items. Mr. Bruce Cheney at the table will provide a brief overview of the items by campus.
I don't think you're on. Push the button, Bruce.
Sorry. Campuses are requesting approval of the following. Item F13, McNeese, approval to demolish the University Bookstore, Farrar Hall, Memorial Gym and Student Services. All of these buildings were damaged by Hurricane Laura and Delta in 2020. And due to the damages that were incurred, that they no longer serve a useful purpose. So after this meeting, the next step is I will send a letter of request to Facility Planning and Control. And then there's a process in order to demolish it. Yet you have to seek legislative approval for that particular district. So after 30 days, if there's no objection, then you can demolish the buildings. Item F14 is from Nichols. Amend its 5-year capital outlay submission to include a project, Lafourche Crossing Farm to Table Pavilion. The interest in a farmer's market reflects desire for people to enjoy fresh produce that's grown daily. The purpose of designing a pavilion for farm to table events encompasses the rich tradition of agriculture in the Nichols region. Nichols will develop gardens to grow food that be prepared by chefs in the pavilion kitchen, as well as their outdoor cooking facility. The Chef John Fo's Culinary Institute, Department of Biological Sciences, and Department of Allied Health will be able to incorporate the facility into their courses to train students on how to grow and maintain a garden, as well as prepare fresh food. The cost of this project is estimated at $1.7 million. Item F15 comes from Northwestern, requesting approval to enter into a ground lease with the Demons Unlimited Foundation for renovations to the NSU Brown Stroud field dugouts and the outfield wall, which is allowed by state law. The project cost is approximately $90,000. The renovation will include laying and attaching 840 square feet of brick to both dugouts and attaching approximately 5,000 square feet of padding to the outfield wall. Upon completion of the project, the foundation will execute a donation to the university of the completed project. Expected completion is March of 2023. Item F16 is from Southeastern, requesting approval to name the new outdoor pavilion to Alumni Center, the Angelo and Trisha DiStefano Outdoor Pavilion. Both Angelo and Patricia are class of 72 Southeastern alumni who continue to contribute to each and every day back to the university. For this project, they are contributing $250,000 to design and build this new outdoor area that will allow the Alumni Association and campus community to host more events and opportunities for students, alumni, growing chapters, and the regional community. Item F17 is from University of Louisiana at Lafayette, requesting approval to enter into a ground lease with Raging Cajun Facilities of a portion of Cajun Fields Stadium for the renovation of the home or the west side of the stadium, which shall terminate upon completion of construction. And this lease is also authorized by state law. This project will consist of new and renovated facilities, but not limited to a concourse, ticketing, event support, athletic administration, communication, broadcast, business affairs, game management, and other spaces. The construction of facilities is anticipated to cost a total of $45 million, and the total cost of project is expected to be approximately $65 million. The facilities are projected to be completed in 2025. The facility designer and construction manager rest have been selected by the Raging Cajun Facilities through a constructive competitive process. The funding for the project will be provided by the University of Louisiana at Lafayette Foundation. Item F18 is also from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. Approval to become the facility planning and control delegated authority, allowing the university to oversee and manage the NIH CO6 grant construction project at Building 29 Laboratories to be located at the New Iberia Research Center. UL Lafayette will need to go through the state's facility planning and control office to do so. This process is similar to what each of you, the board, approved on February 17th of this year. ULL NIRC will contribute $568,000 in self-generated toward the grant for a total project budget of $2.5 million. The board, with it on behalf of the university, will be the owner of the building, and they will own and operate them. Working in collaboration with Facility Planning Control, the university intends to use the Architect Selection Board, that is a state board, to assign an architect to the project. Once all approvals have been obtained, the university will take the necessary action, engage with architects, and eventually contractors to construct this facility. Item F19 is from University of Louisiana at Monroe, requesting permission to proceed with an acceptance of active donation for the Scottish Rite Building from the University of Louisiana at Monroe facility. This building is approximately 12,000 square feet and will be a great asset to the university. The university plans on remodeling the facility to accommodate the on-campus child development center that recently burned. The insurance proceeds will cover the cost of renovation, and there will be no expense to the university. This building is valued at approximately $620,000. Item F20 is also from University of Louisiana Monroe, requesting permission to name the College of Pharmacy's Office of the Dean, Bill and Marcia Bourne, Office of the Dean. Bill Bourne served as Dean of the ULM College of Pharmacy for 18 years. In 1991, Bill founded the Dofilio Society, which is an endowed fund for the support and advancement of the ULM College of Pharmacy. After his retirement, Bill has continued to remain a presence at the college. Several of his family members have also attended the ULM College of Pharmacy. One of their daughters has her husband, who is also an alumnus. Finally, item F21 University of New Orleans requesting permission to dedicate the College of Sciences building as the Mary Grace Curry College of Sciences building in recognition of her significant charitable contributions to the university with the state of Louisiana and various religious organizations, and for her work as an environmental sciences and a historian at Jefferson Parish. In 1993, Dr. Curry was named the College of Sciences Alumna of the Year, and she also served as the college's representative on the University of New Orleans Alumni Association Board of Directors and numerous committees. And those are all the consent items I have, Mr. Stevens.
Members, all of these items have been reviewed by board and legal staff and are recommended for approval. Of course, if you have any questions or wish to discuss these items further, please let me know. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
I have a question.
Yes.
On the, on F-18. It's a number of entities have to approve this, including us, regents, joint legislative. Where are we in the process? Are we up first? Are we up last? Item F-18. It states that a number of university that approvals from the ULS Board of Supervisors, Louisiana Board of Regents, Facility Planning and Control on its own behalf, and the Louisiana Joint Legislative Committee of the Budget are required to complete the act of delegating authority on the project. So are we doing this first? Or
What
are
they're
we last?
waiting on is first for the board to approve.
Okay.
And then it'll go to Board of Regents, and then it'll go to the
Okay.
various processes. But we don't like the the university does not take any action until full approval by the board.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If no one requires further clarification of agenda items, may I have a motion, a second for approval of items F-13 to F-21?
So moved.
Supervisor Clark made the motion.
Second.
Who was that, Joe? Supervisor Hilliard seconds the motion. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Do we have any other business at this time? If not, that concludes the Facility Planning Committee, and the next committee is Finance.
That's correct. Mr. Robinson will address the items under the Finance Committee.
Thank you. We need a motion and a second to act on item G1 through G8 from the October 27th agenda.
So moved. So moved.
Donahue moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Davidson second. And are there any objections? Any comments? Without objection, item G1 through G8 on the October 27th agenda is approved. We will now move to the agenda for the day. We have 4 items on the agenda in the Finance Committee, of which 2 are consent items and 3 are for discussion. Mr. Meach will provide a brief overview of the consent items, please.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Item G9, Southeastern Louisiana's request for approval of a contract price to offer 100% online MBA with a concentration in managing innovation and technology as a cohort format. Southeastern would like to offer the program at a contract price totaling $16,000. The new cohort format would allow students to complete the program over a 12-month period with varied entry points. Students will be able to begin the program in August, October, January, March, and June. The first cohort would begin in August 23, given the cohort has met the academic enrollment thresholds. The contract price does not include any prerequisite courses to the MBA program. Contract price recognizes the premium placed on an MBA with a technology focus that is offered through a collaboration of the colleges of Business and Sciences and Technology. The price would fall between Southeastern's regular MBA cost at $13,940 and the executive MBA cost of $20,676. Item G10, University of Louisiana's request for approval to establish LEQSF endowed chair, endowed superior graduate student scholarships, and endowed first generation scholarships. The Louisiana Education Quality Support Fund provides for grants to be awarded upon receipt of private donations for the establishment of endowed professorships, first-generation scholarships, graduate scholarships, or endowed chairs. Management boards are required to authorize the establishment of the endowments prior to submission to the Board of Regents for matching funds. The following campuses have requesting the following endowments. Louisiana Tech University, CMS SH Endowed Superior Graduate Student Scholarship. Leslie K. and Kathy Geis First Generation Undergraduate Scholarship. And the Nicholas K. Atkins Eminent Scholar Chair in Engineering. University of Louisiana at Lafayette, Dr. Grant Gibson Endowed Superior Graduate Student Scholarship in Earth and Energy Sciences. University of Louisiana at Monroe, Dr. Joshua Comer Superior Graduate Student Scholarship Endowment in Communications. The Wells Family Superior Graduate Student Scholarship Endowment and Masters of Business Administration. Causey Boyd Superior Graduate Student Scholarship Endowment in Pharmacy. Justice Marcus Clark First Generation Endowment Scholarship. And the Merlin Reeser Super First Generation Endowed Scholarship. This completes the consent items, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you. The consent agenda items have been reviewed by staff and my board staff and are recommended for approval. Of course, if anyone has any questions or comments. Dr. Carr?
Yes, I did related to item G9, Southeastern's request for the contract price to offer that 100% online program. I'm curious, do we have other contract price programs that are offered?
Yes, sir. There have been some in the past. I don't know if I can give you those today, but I can tell you some of the other courses that are similar to this MBA program and the cost of those programs, not necessarily contract prices.
Okay.
So we compared several institutions, ULL, Nichols, Louisiana Tech, and MSU. And the average of all those, just to give you an average, it was $15,450. So slightly above that, but with the technology component, they felt this was a fair price for that. MBA.
Right. Now, these other programs though aren't contract price
Not
programs.
necessarily.
Right. Okay. I'm curious. I mean, I think it's a good concept, and I'm intrigued that we are venturing into contract pricing and cohorts. I'm curious as to how they have operated or will operate in terms of, you know, students who enter the cohort for, you know, do they pay full amount up front? They pay the full 16,000 up front. Is it a prorated if they, for some reason, have to drop out of the cohort? Is there any reimbursement? I'm just curious as to some of the dynamics of the way that it operates.
We have a couple of people from Southeastern that might be able to give you more information about their particular program.
Yeah,
I think it'd be appropriate to use-
and I'm really asking in general,
Yeah.
too, just in terms of the way that we are thinking about this. I'm again intrigued. I think it's a unique concept, and so.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Mesh, excuse me, Jimmy, but do we have a copy of this contract so that we could see how it they are going to proceed in collecting this?
No, ma'am, I don't have those specifics. I just know the total cost is $16,000.
Well,
Over
I
the
would
life
like
of the
to know how that you propose, gentlemen and ladies, to address that.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Good
Hi,
morning.
I'm Teray Lopez, the Dean of the College of Business at Southeastern. This is Dan McCarthy, the Dean of the College of Science and Technology. I can speak to our executive MBA, which we've been offering for about 20 years, which is also offered with the contract price. So the specific details, I know in general that the contract that the students pay it in installments of approximately 1/3, where it's front loaded in the front. So, but it's approximately a third. The details, we would have to get our finance people in to give you the details, but that's the general idea.
And that's the way you propose to do this contract as well?
In typical board members, the contract price we have is distinguished from our traditional semester-based programs that have a tuition and fee base that are built around that academic calendar. especially with executive MBA programs, is where you see it most. And so Southeastern has one, Nichols has one. I believe at one time ULM had one, and UL Lafayette had one, and they approach it with this contract price so that it's taken away from the traditional tuition and fees schedule, and it allows for these cohorts to be self-supporting and continue to grow and meet the needs of those regions. So it's not an unusual thing. It's just not something that's come up in recent years for us on a new program. But we can get a good summary of those contract price programs that we've got. I think it'd be worthwhile for us to put those together to see where, number one, if there's opportunities to do more of this, because I think that probably when it's always been executive MBA programs, I think it really applies to some other types of programs, including some advanced practice nursing programs and others that I'm not sure that we have approached that as well. But we can get that report to you, because I think it's an innovative way for us to envision access and growing capacity in programs without relying on new state dollars.
And since it's an online program, completely online, campuses have some flexibility in the amount that they charge, similar to others that we've brought before the board.
When we put together that overview or kind of, retro looking report, if we could do some outcomes, I'm real curious in terms of, how effective.
More than financial outcomes.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I want to see how the students are doing, and if it is really, serving their needs and meeting their needs. I'm also curious on this concept of multiple entry points. Is this done with the other programs, or is this a new concept?
Yeah, it's actually a trend we're seeing across the country of, we're all, I think, become a society of not really good with delayed gratification. We want instant access, and we're seeing that with entry. When you tell a student, I'm excited, I really want to start my program. Oh, well, you have to wait 3 months or 4 months. Then we lose them. And so having multiple entry points gives us an opportunity to pull those people in at the moment they're excited about it. And we're seeing it across the country.
Not to paint with a broad brush, typically a student that would be interested in an executive MBA program is someone that doesn't spend a lot of time waiting on things.
Right.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
And so that immediate they want
Action.
They want action. They want the learning that comes with being part of an MBA program, but they want to be finished with it so they can move forward and continue. So again, not to paint MBA folks with a broad brush.
No, well, I mean, certainly the multiple entry points is a concept proprietary schools have used for years, the community colleges and the CTE programs and non-credit function. And so I'm glad we're venturing that way. I'm curious just to see what the, again, effectiveness. And if this rolling, I'm assuming it's a rolling cohort, or so that you add to it and that you still have that 12 months.
Correct.
Space in there, so we're targeting 20 as a minimum, but we to add some, so Cinderella is not completed course one thing, they can jump into the next section. So we're trying to build some flexibility in the space. And we need a minimum. We're not going to do a minimum.
I commend you for the innovation and willingness to try. And again, outcomes are important.
Absolutely.
Any further questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Can I get a motion to approve item G9 and G10, please?
So moved.
Dr. Clark?
Second,
motion.
second, Davis.
And Mr. Davidson, second. Are there any objections? Without objections, the motion passes. We will now have a brief overview of the discussion item. Mr. Janae, Ms. McIntyre.
Thank you so much, Mr. Robinson. Item G12, University of Louisiana System, report on internal and external audit activity for the period of October 24th to November 30th. This was a very short turnaround time, and why is not that many reports. But anyway, last week, each board member received a listing of internal and external reports completed by various auditors since our last meeting. We also included audits in progress and also a follow-up timetable to make sure that recommendations in prior reports are implemented. This is a report only and no action by the board is necessary.
Item G12 is ULS's discussion of the fiscal year 23 first quarter financial reports. The first report is a prior year to current year comparison of operating fund revenues and expenses through September 30th. Campuses submit their quarterly financial reports to the system and they provide explanations for any large or unusual variances. So for the revenues, there were more general fund revenues drawn during the first quarter than last year, and this is consistent with the increase in total expense from the prior year. The increase in general registration fees is mostly caused by a fee transfer that has been performed at year end in the past, but is now being performed quarterly. The increase is offset by decreases in enrollment system-wide. Other revenues increased mostly because of the timing of recording executive education program revenues. They were recorded in the first quarter of this fiscal year rather than in the second quarter in the prior year. There was also an increase in investment and interest income. On the next page, we have expenses by function. The increase in instruction expense is caused by faculty and staff pay increases. The increase in scholarships and fellowships is related to the timing of posting dual enrollment fee waivers, and there were also increases in scholarships awarded. Operations and maintenance expense increased mostly because of increases in insurance premiums and utilities. Athletics expense increased because of a timing difference of when the athletics transfer was recorded this fiscal year. Other expense increased because of a timing difference of when insurance payments were made this fiscal year. Next is the expenses by object. Salaries expense increased because of the faculty and staff pay increases. The increase in travel is consistent with there being less COVID restrictions than there were in the prior year. Operating services increased mostly because of timing differences of when insurance payments were made and increases in the insurance premiums and increases in utilities and software license and maintenance fees. Other charges and interagency expenses increased because of timing differences for insurance payments, athletic transfers, and posting of fee waivers. Next is the auxiliary operations and athletic summary. In their quarterly reports, campuses also report results of the auxiliary and athletic operations. The report summarizes auxiliary and athletic revenues, expenses, and changes in fund balances through the end of the fiscal year. The report reflects an adjustment to the prior year fund balance. Grambling reported an adjustment to the fiscal year 23 beginning fund balance. The athletic fund balance deficit increased by 3.7 million, and the auxiliary fund balance improved by 14.5 million, resulting in an overall improvement of 10.8 million. These adjustments were the result of a difference between Grambling's accounting records and the quarterly report submitted. We're working with Grambling to gain a better understanding of what caused the difference. Campuses expect approximately 258 million in revenues, 290 million in expenses, and 25 million in net transfers in, which would result in an overall current year operating deficit of approximately 7.9 million and an ending positive fund balance overall of approximately 43 million. The next report shows the athletic deficits. Although progress has been made by some campuses continue to have deficits in athletics. For last year's first quarter report, 4 campuses were projecting a total deficit of 13 million, which has improved. This quarter, 3 campuses are projecting a total deficit of 11 million. We are continuing to work with the campuses to improve the deficits. And the table shows the projected current year and cumulative fund balances for fiscal year 23. With their quarterly reports, campuses provide certifications of certain assurances about their operations. Campuses did not note any areas of immediate concern in their certifications, and they are available for review in the system office.
Thank you. This report is for information only, doesn't require any action on the board. Does any board member have comments or questions regarding the report? Recognizing none, that concludes the business of the Finance Committee. I yield back to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. At this time, we'll have the Personnel Committee. Ms. Donahoe, would you please present those items?
Yes, thank you very much. We will need a motion and a second to approve items H1 to H4 that were part of the October 27th agenda. These are listed in this month's agenda as well. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Motion made by Mr. Robinson. Second, second by Mr. Davidson. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Is there any opposed? All right, we will now move to the recently submitted items from our campuses. We have 3 items on the Personnel Committee agenda today that are being presented on the consent agenda. Mr. Eddie Mesh will provide an overview of today's items. Mr. Mesh,
Thank you, Ms. Donahoe. Item H5.
your microphone's not working.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Thank you. Item H5, Grambling State University's request for approval to appoint Dr. Rudolph Ellis as Vice President of Student Affairs effective November 7, 2022. Item H6, Northwestern State University's request for approval to appoint Dr. William Drake Owens as interim Executive Vice President of External Affairs effective November 14, 2022. And item H7, University of New Orleans request for approval to continue the appointment of Ms. Joanne N. Terranova as interim Vice President for Business Affairs effective January 1, 2023. And Ms. Donahoe, this concludes the items for consideration today.
Thank you. Are any of the presidents here that would like to introduce these?
Madam Chair, President Jones is at the SAC COC conference, but I pledged to him that I would recognize this new person that he has brought forward, Drake Owens. And I think it'd be appropriate for Drake to come forward and say hello.
Okay, great. And I know in January, Dr. Jones wants to also talk to us about that. So we'll get to hear from Dr. Owens twice, maybe.
And members, those of you that did not know, longtime Vice President Jerry Pierce passed away just a few weeks ago. Drake has worked with Jerry and supported Jerry for many years. It is a distinctly different approach to the business, I'm quite sure. Jerry is started in 1965. Drake was how old in 65? But Drake is not only an attorney, a member of the bar. He is also has a PhD and a young child. I don't know where you find the time, my friend, but welcome. Dr. Drake Owens.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson, Chair Pierre, Supervisor Donahoe, members. Appreciate the opportunity to do this. I've worked with Mr. Pierce for a long time and had a really good mentor in him and a lot of others over the years. I've been in Northwestern for 23 years now as a student worker, graduate assistant. I've had numerous positions, full-time in development, alumni affairs. I've served as executive director of the NSU Alumni Association and Foundation, and most recently as assistant vice president for Jerry Pierce. Just very fortunate to have people at Northwestern we can work with and learn from, and really looking forward to the opportunity. I know I've got big shoes to fill in that position for Pierce, but I would do anything for my alma mater. I work hard to make everybody proud, and this opportunity means the world to me. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And just a note on what Drake said. Jerry Pierce was, of course, at Northwestern. He was just served, I think, 9 presidents, and big shoes to fill. In fact, we're finding every day other things that Jerry was responsible for. And I think it'll end up taking about 3 different people to actually cover all the things that he was doing for Northwestern. So Drake, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
you.
Question.
Yes, sir.
A question that it I guess relates to item H7, although not anything about the appointment. This is an item to continue an appointment of an interim. And I'm just curious as to what our policy or what how long can a person stay in an interim role?
So according to our policy, 2 years is the maximum time that we'd have someone as an interim. Typically, you'll see an extension of an interim when they've been appointed for an interim period a search is conducted and a candidate that can't come to terms with a candidate, for instance. And I know at UNO, they had a number of great applicants. They went through the process and then it could not bring it to conclusion. And so their approach is to start a new search. And while they do a new search, they need Ms. Terranova to continue in her role.
Sure. So, but we do have a
2 years
policy of
typically.
2 years.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
that's what-
Sometimes UL Lafayette complies with that. UNO always complies with it.
Yeah, I was just wondering how that worked.
Sometimes.
That was a mistake. I didn't mean to say that.
Well, we'll conclude this business. The agenda items have been reviewed by staff and are recommended for approval. Of course, if any member has questions or wishes to discuss them, let me know. Do I have a motion to approve? Mr. Robinson,
Second.
second by Mr. Romero. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Madam Chair, I will yield back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Donahoe. At this time, Dr. Henderson, would you please present your report?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Members were emailed campus personnel actions from October and from December for review. The staff has reviewed all of these requests and recommends approval. We need a motion and a second, Madam Chair.
So moved.
Well, motion by Ms. Donahoe, second by Mr. Stevens. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That motion's carried.
Thank you. Members, the dates for the 2023 For Our Future Conference are set. And we hope that you'll join us on March 26th to 28th in McNeese's backyard in Lake Charles at the Golden Nugget, Lake Charles Hotel and Casino. When I visited with the mayor a few weeks ago, his parting comment to me was that if you have anything, any kind of gathering, please bring it to Lake Charles. And I was so pleased that we had already made the decision, but I acted like, because you asked, Mr. Mayor, we're going to bring it to Lake Charles. That region is still recovering. It is recovering around McNeese, and we're delighted to be in that community. And we're gearing up for the largest conference in our history. And for the first time, we ventured into a self-contained venue, which is very exciting. And I really want to thank Dr. Burkell and his team for their partnership in hosting the conference, and look forward to having a reception on campus to kick off the event. Now, the 2023 For Our Future Conference will assemble a wide range of faculty and staff to collaborate and strategize, focused on owning our calling to produce Louisiana's most educated and prepared generation. Our call for proposals and award nominations open today. The proposals will be accepted in 3 tracks: engage, instruct, and innovate. And we're encouraging session proposals that consider a few priority themes that this board has weighed in on multiple times: our core competencies work, our diversity and inclusion work, and certainly modernization and technology. More information will be sent to the board once registration opens after the first of the year. Something very exciting, our University of Louisiana content experts are hosting a webinar on burnout and resilience next week. I don't know anyone that's suffering from that, but if you have time for a burnout and resilience thing, put it on your calendar. Our content experts offer numerous free virtual opportunities for professional and personal development throughout the year to faculty and staff system-wide. We appreciate the service of McNeese State University professor, Dr. Kevin Yadis, our content expert for mental health, UL Lafayette Associate Professor, Dr. Brian Bolton, who's our content expert for financial literacy, ULM Assistant Professor, Dr. Will Rogers, our content expert for online teaching and learning, and Northwestern State University Director of Purchasing, Carla Howell. She's our content expert for grants and research. Now, shifting gears to the NASH grant. As you know, this isn't our original meeting date. I appreciate everyone's flexibility in allowing us to change it so the members of our senior staff can attend the National Association of System Heads super convening tomorrow in Washington, D.C. There's some impactful programming. Our own Commissioner of Higher Education, Kim Hunter-Reid, will be providing a keynote. It dovetails nicely with the work we did at our board retreat when Nancy Zimpher, the former president of the SUNY system, approached. Nancy has been the spearhead of this super convening, but they'll also be announcing the Nash Catalyst Fund. And I'm proud to tell you that the Reginald F. Lewis Scholars Program will receive a $7,500 grant, and Compete Louisiana will receive a $10,000 grant as part of this Catalyst Fund. So we're appreciative and proud that in their first year, they decided to fund 2 of our programs. Last month, we partnered with one of our partner organizations, the Baton Rouge Youth Coalition, to host the UL System College Fair for their fellows. BRYC does incredible work with promising students from the Baton Rouge region by helping students enter, persist, and graduate college. We have an MOU with BRYC to provide support to program graduates who attend our member institutions. This is the first time we have partnered with them to engage their high school students. So it was a lot of fun to gather recruiters from all 9. And what is the way you say BRYC? BRIC, thank you. I knew there was a way to say it and I was going to butcher it. So our member institutions to meet with BRIC's fellows. We also featured our Reginald Lewis scholars, and cohort 2 scholar Frank Clavel attended and introduced attendees to the program. Now, speaking of the scholars, Bayou Classic Weekend is always a special event, but this one was just extraordinary. They gathered a couple of weeks ago for the Classic, and during the festivities, they hosted a speed mentoring event for Black male college students from throughout the state. So it was the scholars and then some. We had 100 students from 2-year and 4-year institutions and a couple of high school seniors who enjoyed a lunch program where they were encouraged by leaders from within our system and beyond, including U.S. Attorney General for the Middle District of Louisiana, Ron Gates. And because I saw her walking down the hallway, Omarosa Newman. Now, I met Omarosa walking across the parking lot at Southern University Law Center a couple of months ago. I knew the name, and I texted my daughter, do you know who Omarosa Newman is? And she says, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so I said, oh, I should know this person. Since that time, she and I have become dear friends. And when I see her walking in a hallway, we inscript her into giving a motivational speech on the fly. And it was just absolutely incredible. The students engaged in one-on-one mentoring sessions with nearly 40 leaders in business, community, and education. The event was wildly successful, and we look forward to its growth in future years. A week ago today, we celebrated a successful first Giving Tuesday, since we began our intentional outreach to support transformational programs such as the Scholars and Compete Louisiana. We're excited about year-end giving as we push toward Claire's goal of raising $1.5 million for the RFL Scholars by June 2023. She is not telling me how close she is, but she says she's close. And I trust her. We're so appreciative of this body's generosity and continued support in spreading the word about our scholars and other initiatives. This topic takes on a little more relevance today, and I want Ron Berry to know that the UL community is in our prayers. But we have signed an MOU on suicide prevention. As you know, mental health and suicide prevention continues to be a priority for our system and all of our member institutions. We feel like we've made some great strides in this area, but we want to expand our efforts to improve safety and well-being of our students because that's the most paramount concern we have. We entered into a partnership with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is a voluntary health organization with a mission to save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide. Through this partnership, there will be opportunities for our campus communities to receive suicide prevention trainings at no cost to the institutions or the system. We're very excited about this partnership with AFSP. Now, we move to item J, which is the evaluation of campus presidents. As we stated in October, we completed our annual evaluation of the campus presidents. And like in years past, in addition to our regular evaluations, 3 of our presidents will be subject to 360 evaluations today. During more thorough reviews, we talked to campus community leaders, stakeholders, alumni for a robust understanding of the state of the institution to add some granularity and layers to the annual presidential evaluation. At this time, the board will consider these 3 evaluations during the executive session and review the evaluations of all 9 presidents and have a discussion. We'll need a motion and a second to enter executive session, Madam Chair.
I'll make the motion to move into executive session.
And we need a second.
Second.
Okay, and I need to read the statement before we vote. The Board of Supervisors for the University of Louisiana system may meet in executive session to discuss personnel matters under the provisions of Louisiana Revised Statute 42:17. While in executive session, the board may not make any motions or take any votes. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? I'm sorry, we need a roll call vote for that. Ann?
Mr. Barry Busada. Dr. Jimmy Clark,
Yes.
Dr. John Condos, Mr. Steve Davison,
Yes.
Miss Lola Donahoe.
Yes.
Mr. Ethan Estes.
Yeah.
Ms. Joe Leatherman,
Yes.
Mr. Al Perkins, Mr. Dana Peterson.
Yes.
Miss Elizabeth Pierre,
Yes.
Mr. Virgil Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Mark Romero,
Yes.
Miss Christine Russell.
Yes.
Mr. Joe Salter, Mr. Brad Stevens.
Yes.
Miss Julie Stokes.
Yes.
It passes.
Thank you. The board will now adjourn into executive session. The Board of Supervisors for the University of Louisiana System met in executive session to discuss personnel matters. While in executive sessions, no motions were made nor votes taken. Is there a motion to reconvene in open session?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Donahoe,
Second.
second by Mr. Stevens. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Henderson.
Read this part here.
I did.
You good then? Okay. Super.
Okay, we're good. At this time, we'll move to the board chair report. First thing, training reminders. Please remember to finalize your annual trainings for the year with a deadline date of December 23rd. These two compulsory trainings are ethics and preventing sexual harassment. Please contact Bruce if you have any questions. Commencements. Our fall commencement exercises have already begun, and you will not want to neglect to register your attendance if you plan to participate. Carol has provided a link to inform institutions of your plans, so you can check back through your email. She sent a link to everyone. Nominating report. At the last meeting, I appointed a nominating committee with Mark Romero as chair. The committee met this morning, and we will now hear a report from them. Mr. Romero.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The nominating committee met this morning at 9 a.m. We had 3 members present. Considerations for recommendations to the board for their consideration of individuals for our board chair and vice chair were entertained. The committee unanimously supported the selection of Liz Pierre as chair and the selection of Dr. Jimmy Clark as vice chair. There was no other business with the committee, and we adjourned.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, do I carry that motion?
No. So I had a motion by Supervisor Robinson and second by Supervisor Donahoe. And so according to Robert's rules, are there any other nominations to come forward towards the board?
Make a motion to close the nomination.
And motion to close the nominations. Second, we'll need a roll call vote. And thank you to your brother Winston for reminding me of that one time.
Mr. Barry Busada. Dr. Jimmy Clark,
Yes.
Dr. John Condos, Mr. Steve Davison,
Yes.
Miss Lola Donahoe.
Yes.
Mr. Ethan Estes.
Yes.
Miss Joe Leatherman, Mr. Al Perkins, Mr. Dana Peterson.
Yes.
Miss Elizabeth Pierre,
Yes.
Mr. Virgil Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Mark Romero,
Yes.
Miss Christine Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Joe Salter, Mr. Brad Stevens.
Yes.
Miss Julie Stokes.
Yes.
It passes.
Thank you.
And just one order of business, the committee did not make any considerations for the position, recommendations for the position of parliamentarian, as we view that as a responsibility of the chair.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to the board for your vote of confidence. And I would at this time like to say that I would appoint Mr. Brad Stevens as our parliamentarian, if he would accept.
I do accept. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before we move to our next item on the agenda, we did have executive session, and I think we have a item of action coming from that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to present to the board at this time a motion that we accept the presidential evaluations and authorize the system president in consultation with the board chair to prepare and execute the associated appointment letters.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we approve the evaluations and
Motion in a second.
a motion
All
in
in
a
favor?
second. Yeah, we have a motion in a second. All in favor? Oh, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you so much. Our next item on the agenda is a proposed revision to bylaw section 4 committees, section B, standing committees. In your folder, you will find a copy of a proposed revision to section 4 committees, subsection B, standing committees. We first introduced this in August, and we are now ready to vote on it. May I please have a motion and a second to approve this change?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Donahoe,
Second motion.
second by Mr. Estes. Is there any discussion, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That motion carries. Other business, our next board meeting for installation of officers is scheduled for January 5th at 10 a.m. Is there any further business to come before the board at this time? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Romero. Second by Dr. Clark. We stand adjourned. Thank you so much.